The recent events in Rafah have once again thrust the Israeli-Palestinian conflict into the global spotlight. The White House, walking a diplomatic tightrope, issued a statement expressing deep concern over the humanitarian situation. While reaffirming its commitment to Israel's security, the statement also called for all parties to exercise restraint. This carefully worded response reflects the complexities of the situation and the delicate balance the U.S. strives to maintain in the region. The statement, however, fell short of explicitly condemning the Rafah operation. This omission speaks volumes about the United States' long-standing policy towards Israel, often described as unwavering support. It raises questions about the red lines, if any, that Israel might cross before facing tangible consequences from its closest ally. The international community, watching closely, is left to decipher the true weight of America's words and the implications for future actions in the region. The situation in Rafah is a stark reminder of the human cost of this protracted conflict. As images of the devastation emerge, the world grapples with the implications of the White House's response. Will this be a turning point, a catalyst for a renewed push for peace? Or will it simply be another chapter in a seemingly endless cycle of violence and recrimination? The U.S.-Israel relationship is deeply rooted in history, ideology, and strategic interests. Since Israel's founding in 1948, it has enjoyed bipartisan support in Washington. This special relationship, often described as unbreakable, is underpinned by shared democratic values, security cooperation, and a strong pro-Israel lobby in the U.S. Over the decades, the U.S. has provided Israel with billions of dollars in military aid, diplomatic cover at the United Nations, and unwavering support for its right to exist and defend itself. This steadfast backing has emboldened Israel, some argue, to pursue policies that perpetuate the conflict with the Palestinians. Critics point to the continued expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank, deemed illegal under international law, as a prime example. The U.S. argues that its support for Israel is essential for regional stability and serves as a bulwark against terrorism and Iranian influence. However, this unwavering support, often perceived as blind loyalty by the Arab world, has fueled anti-American sentiment and complicated U.S. efforts to broker peace in the region. The White House's statement on the Rafah operation highlights the diplomatic tightrope the U.S. walks in the Middle East. On the one hand, the U.S. is committed to Israel's security and its right to defend itself against perceived threats. On the other hand, the U.S. is also cognizant of the need to uphold international law, alleviate the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and salvage its image in the Arab world. The lack of explicit condemnation of the Rafah operation will likely be interpreted by some as tacit approval. This perception could embolden Israel and further diminish the prospects for a negotiated two-state solution. Moreover, it risks alienating key Arab allies who are already critical of U.S. policy in the region. The Biden administration now faces the difficult task of balancing its support for Israel with its broader foreign policy objectives. This will require deft diplomacy, a willingness to exert pressure on both sides, and a clear articulation of the red lines that cannot be crossed. Section 4. The world reacts, a spectrum of responses. The international community's response to the Rafah operation and the White House's statement has been predictably divided. European allies, while expressing concern over the humanitarian situation, have largely refrained from criticizing Israel directly. This reluctance stems from a combination of factors, including historical sensitivities, economic ties with Israel, and a desire to maintain close transatlantic relations. Arab countries, on the other hand, have been more vocal in their condemnation. The Arab League has called for an end to the violence and urged the international community to hold Israel accountable for its actions. Some Arab states, already wary of Israel's growing regional influence, view the Rafah operation as further evidence of its expansionist ambitions. The United Nations Security Council remains deadlocked, with the United States consistently blocking resolutions critical of Israel. This paralysis within the international community's premier body for maintaining peace and security underscores the deep divisions over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the limits of international law in resolving it. Section 5. Charting the unpredictable course ahead. The aftermath of the Rafah operation is shrouded in uncertainty. The situation on the ground remains volatile, with the potential for further escalation ever present. The White House's carefully calibrated response, while attempting to navigate the complexities of the situation, has done little to quell the violence or offer a clear path forward. The international community, divided and seemingly powerless, watches on as the cycle of violence continues. The lack of a unified response, coupled with the US's unwavering support for Israel, raises serious questions about the prospects for a just and lasting peace. The path ahead is fraught with challenges. A renewed diplomatic push, led by the US in concert with regional and international partners, is urgently needed. Such an effort must address the root causes of the conflict, including the occupation, settlements, and the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Section 6. Understanding the stakes. The events in Rafah and the White House's response serve as a stark reminder of the global implications of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is not just a regional issue, it is a global one, with far-reaching consequences for international peace and security. For the public, understanding the historical context, the motivations of the actors involved, and the potential ramifications of political stances is crucial. An informed citizenry is essential for holding leaders accountable and advocating for policies that promote peace and justice. For the international community, the situation in Rafah underscores the urgent need for a more balanced and even-handed approach. The current impasse, characterized by inaction and a lack of political will, is simply unsustainable. The world cannot afford to stand idly by while another generation grows up amidst violence and despair.